In the past, President Clinton and the current President George Bush said that before they got elected, they said that they would recognize the Armenian genocide once they were in office, and we saw that was untrue. So I guess people are skeptical with Senator Obama that he does promise to recognize, but will he actually recognize once he's in office?
Right.
If he's in office,
that's what, as they say, the $64,000 question. I don't think our viewers would be shocked that sometimes candidates say things during the campaign that they don't really follow through with once elected. So there's always some skepticism. It doesn't matter if it's a Republican candidate or a Democratic candidate. You have to take it with a
grain of salt.
Grain of salt, exactly. But at the same time, it's about the proper characterization of the word genocide, but it's more too. It's about having the right vision for the Caucasus, for Armenia, for Nagorno-Karabakh, and what you inherit with an administration is also their foreign policy team. And this foreign policy team currently in place in this administration is really almost hostile to the Armenian state and to Nagorno-Karabakh. And they see Turkey having a very central role in what goes on in the Middle East and the Caucasus. And they're very, very forgiving of Turkey's shortcomings. And they're very critical of Armenia's just demands. So what we're hoping for isn't just Senator Obama to walk down the street whistling Armenian genocide, Armenian genocide. We want to see Senator Obama take a very productive position on Armenia, on Nagorno-Karabakh, on the role of Turkey and that they can or cannot play, and to freely, obviously, use the term Armenian genocide when referring to the Armenian genocide, not coming up with this tortured language we've seen over the years, such as the tragic sufferings of the Armenians, or all these kind of qualifications.
What we saw during the confirmation hearings of Ambassador Jovanovic.
Right.
And so with the new administration, if Senator Obama, Senator Biden were to be elected, would the position of Marie Jovanovic, Ambassador Jovanovic, change? Would she be now able to use the word genocide when in her confirmation hearings she stated that it was the State Department's policy to not use the word genocide?
Let me say something. These ambassadorial nominees aren't stupid people. They know the facts. I have a feeling, I always get the impression that after these confirmation hearings, when they have to speak out of both sides of their mouth and so forth, they run home and close the door and lock the windows and scream Armenian genocide, Armenian genocide, because they know it's an Armenian genocide. They're in this position where they feel that they can't use the word Armenian genocide or else they won't become an ambassador. And that's a big thing for a lot of these career diplomats. But at the same time, you have to make a decision. If I was told that, I can have a nice job in whatever post, ambassador to a state, a country, or other high posts like that, but I can't use the word, let's say, slavery in referring to the African-American experience. I can't use the word Holocaust in referring to the Jewish experience or the internment of the Japanese. And I have to come up with this, blacks suffered and whites suffered, or Japanese, at that time, a lot of misunderstandings, and now everyone should just get past it and make these kind of half-truths and try and somehow change the real horror of what everyone experienced. Then I've made a choice. I've made a choice that I will go along with this kind of insidious lie and cover-up, passively perhaps, but nonetheless, because of the fact that I covet this position. I think that's wrong. Ambassador Evans showed a lot of courage in saying what he knew was right, and he knew that it probably would shorten his career, which it did. But nonetheless, he did the right thing. And there are many examples of people in the State Department who resigned because of policy differences and elsewhere. And really, that's the litmus test.
And the ANC recently, just a few days ago, endorsed Senator Obama and Senator Biden officially, and the ANC had also endorsed Senator Obama in the Democratic primaries. Does Turkey feel threatened by the fact that Obama's in the lead and he's a supporter of the Armenian issues? Are they feeling a sort of threat there? Apparently,
according to the Turkish press, they're feeling the heat. It's interesting because you have to understand the mentality of someone who has evaded capture, let's just put it that way. There's always a lot of paranoia that they're going to be found out, and I see that somewhat on a national scale with the Turkish government and Turkish people, that they protest so much, but they know that the day of reckoning is coming. So everywhere they're seeing Armenian hands in whatever's going on, in whatever misery or problems they may have, because deep down I think that they want to deal with the Armenian genocide issue, but they've painted themselves in a corner. So all the mishaps that they encounter, somehow they trace to the Armenians and this incredibly potent and wily Armenian lobby that somehow pulls triggers around the world.
And so if there was to be another genocide resolution introduced to Congress, and if Obama were to get elected, that means that the Senate Majority Leader would be Harry Reid, and the Speaker of the House would be Nancy Pelosi, and the President would be Senator Obama, and the Vice President would be Senator Biden, who are all very good friends of the Armenian American community. Would Turkey be able to use the same threats as they did last time that the United States uses their Isliarik air base?
Absolutely will. No question.
They would still be able to use the Iraq War as a.
They'll attempt it. Now, the issue is, what will our friends in Washington do? And this is what happens typically. Put yourself in the position of the President of the United States. There's a briefing, and they sit down, and some very important people who aren't in the limelight all the time, but have top positions within the national security agencies, within the Pentagon, within the CIA, come to you and say, Mr. President, we're very aware of your stance on the Armenian genocide issue. However, now is not the time. Turkey has this very important role to play. We're putting our troops at risk. Should you do this, there's a whole chain of reaction, a chain of events that may take place that will cause huge problems for American interests in that very strategically important area and so forth. Now the president, who knows right from wrong, is a very bright man, is put in a position, well, I don't know if the time is right, and I don't want to do anything to harm troops, I don't want to do anything to harm strategic interests and so forth. So he may turn around and err on the side of caution. But the reality is that Turkey, when you take a close look at it, Turkey nothing really changes in the world if the President of the United States recognizes the Armenian genocide. Tomorrow, Turkey won't become magically independent or loved within the region. Turkey has problems with Russia. Turkey has problems with Iran, with Iraq, with Syria, with Bulgaria, with Cyprus, with Greece, with Armenia, with all its neighbors. Okay, they are sort of starving for friends. And the United States is one good friend. The United States is a friend that's given them, probably hundreds of billions of dollars. That's our money, even Canadian money, which is now worth more than our money, over the years. And they can ill afford to say, because you used the word genocide and you referred to something we know is true and it hurts our feelings, then we're going to destroy a relationship and a cash flow that's helped subsidize their country for decades, if not more than half a century. So the point I'm trying to make is, where are they going to turn? They have nowhere to turn. And so they're basically saber-rattling. And it's time for the United States, France, Great Britain, it doesn't matter, the European Union, to call their bluff and say, what? We're going to use the word Armenian genocide because we use the word Holocaust, because we use the term slavery to describe what happened to African Americans. We're going to use whatever term is correct because that's the correct term, and it's dangerous not to refer to things, and it's dangerous to whitewash things after the fact. It imperils the world.